This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Pod. It's the show for the week of January 8th, 2024. And this is part 2 of my trip report. But first, Phil, before we get into it, when this goes live, this show, or when it's posted, what's happening, Phil? What's happening? We're excited. What's going on?
I think people are excited. Well, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so effective January 9th, as we know, a number of changes are happening at Walt Disney World. So by the time you're listening to it, they're probably in effect, and we'll see how things are going. But the big thing is that park reservations are going away for most guests. Annual pass holders will still have reservations. However, Disney made it more confusing by also giving them good to go days and all that sort of stuff. But even for them, there's less days they have to make reservations and stuff like that. So overall, a lot less reservations to be made. Additionally, the 2 p.m. park hopping restriction is also lifted. So if you want to cut through Epcot on your way to the monorail, you now can. And additionally, the Disney dining plan returns. Obviously, people had been booking it already and making their reservations. I know on his podcast, Len Testa said they're going to be tracking to see the impact this has on restaurant availability now that the dining plan is back, with the theory being that one credit table service places will be a lot harder to get, but 2 credit places might be easier to get because people are kind of avoiding those and trying to maximize value of that. So kind of the question I have, and as we're trying to make sure this podcast is focused on planning, is do any of these changes like impact you when you're thinking about planning your next trip, or are they not really that important to how you do Disney?
If you asked me, I don't know, December 14th, the day before I left on my trip, the answer would have been no. I had, up until that point, I had no problem with reservations. I still don't. I know what parks I'm going to, and that very, very rarely deviates. Even during the busiest sections, I was always able to get the park I wanted, even if I wanted to change the day before. Yeah. It was an annoyance, but again, not a big deal in my opinion. Park hopping is another story. I've only park hopped once. That was my adult only trip last year, and it was fun. But it also causes some other issues where it forces you like, oh, we got to hop now.
Yeah,
you're a little bit busier than you would. But yeah, I do have. But this asked me. I said this asked me on December 14th before I left. Asked me today, and this completely changes the way I'm going to be doing my next trip, which we'll be finding out later after my trip report, because this is kind of like lessons learned, things how I'm evolving, however you want to label it.
Yeah,
that's what I'll be talking about at the end of the show. What about you? Does this change anything for you?
I don't think it drastically changes. It is, like you said, just one less annoyance to have to worry about park reservations and stuff like that. I am also interested to see how this impacts people trying to get virtual queues, because now you don't need a park reservation. So as long as you have a ticket, a dated ticket, you can try to get in the virtual queue, and you can now hop earlier, so you can hop over and try to get the virtual queue for the other park and stuff like that. So I'm kind of interested to see just all the logistics and stuff like that. So we usually don't get hoppers, but I think now that this restriction is going away, it puts it a little more on the table, just because you don't have to, some of those parks, it's like if you couldn't hop until 2 p.m., it's like, I don't know, it didn't feel like a full day. So we'll see. It's not huge for us, but again, it's just one less kind of annoyance or hurdle or whatever, and it feels like we're getting closer back to normal pre-pandemic Disney.
2019 Disney for sure. I want to talk about this later, but I can't talk about it without like spoiling some of my hot takes and my evolution of Disney touring. So that being said, let's go on to part 2 of the trip report, my trip report. And I kind of want to go over, kind of like a review. I want to say thank you for everybody that endured my trip report from last week. I totally did it the way I hate listening to trip reports, where I just started like, at this time we did this, and then we did this, boom, boom, boom. That's very boring. No one wants to hear a laundry list of things we did. So I'm going to be changing that today for the last 3 days that we were there. But just to kind of lay the ground for what we went through so far. Okay. So we arrived on a very cold, rainy day. There's a big storm coming through. And that kind of, if you remember, that kind of, I don't want to say ruined the Disney bubble, but made it hard to get in. When it's dreary and cold and doesn't feel like Florida, it's very hard to kind of associate that, what my body is telling me, but what my heart is singing about right at the same time, right? We're like, we're in Disney and I'm freezing. We're at Disney and it's cold and rainy. So it was kind of hard to get adjusted. And then we did Epcot, Magic Kingdom, and then the Christmas party. Epcot was a very busy ride day. Didn't really mean to do it the whole day, but it just kind of ended that way. Just one thing led to another. And that's a Genie Plus thing because I wasn't going to get Genie Plus, but then we did your, relax and stack or sleep and stack method because that's what we were going to do. So I booked for it. The weather cooperated, so we went in early. And because Genie Plus was there, we ended up using it. Magic Kingdom was our second full day. And boy, was that a monster of a crowd day. It's leading me to another hot take that I'm going to talk about later in the show when it comes to fireworks and how you do Magic Kingdom and what time of year you go. That was the day that my wife was very anxious. She does not like crowds, and it was overly crowded at times. So it was not a fun day. If you remember, we were not able to do any of the headliner rides that day, except for Tron that we paid for, and the Jingle Cruise, which was what we got a lightning lane for the first right off the bat. But we managed to get on Pirates, but not Haunted Mansion, none of the mountains, not Peter Pan. So it was kind of a rush around at the speed of breakneck speed, trying to find something to do with Genie Plus again. Another Genie Plus take that I've got there that I'm going to talk about later, and how Genie Plus, while functional, kind of almost ruins your day. And it's not the take I had from last year, which is too much project management, because I've kind of gotten over that a little bit because now it's a little bit easier. I'm not stressing out about it. But the time element of things, we're going to talk about that later, where Genie Plus just hangs an anchor around your neck constantly throughout the day. It's not fun. And then we did our party day, and our party was absolutely fantastic. A couple of people were talking about this in Discord. Is it worth it? That type of thing. The Christmas party, I haven't been to the Halloween party since 2015. So it's been almost 10 years since I've been there. The Christmas party is absolutely worth it. If it's within your budget and it makes sense to you, it even makes sense doing one less park day and do the party when you're down there. The crowds were absolutely amazing. Walking around, just walking in and getting cookie and hot chocolate, whatever you want, was really awesome. Food was
I know that's
decent.
a small thing, but it is kind of funny, like whether it's that or like the trick or treating or something, and then that's something that I know at the Jollywood nights kind of got pointed out, that everything was an extra. You didn't get anything included. And obviously it's such a small part of like the fee you're paying, but it's like those little extras that make it feel special, that you get a little bit something for it.
100%. And then the crowds, like at Main Street, I have video of my kids, and I mentioned this last week, dancing on Main Street with like the next closest person was like 15 feet away.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It's a very good, relaxing way to do it. Unfortunately, it was a little bit cold.
Yeah.
So that leads us into our fourth day there. Our resort day, quote unquote resort day. And if Matt's listening, this is my resort day. We not just stay at the resort the whole day, but we got back to the resort at like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. So we all just kind of slept in. And I think that's what we did. We had a BOMA reservation at 10:10, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
So we woke up, I think we all woke up around 8:30 or so. Everybody got a solid 7 hours of sleep, and everybody's excited and ready to go. Now, my wife was still nervous for eating indoors at this point. Again, she's recovering from a respiratory illness that wasn't COVID or anything, but just, she's recovering. So she's just kind of nervous about picking something else up in Disney World. So we get there, and I have to say, we got there and walked around Animal Kingdom Lodge lobby, and I haven't been there in a while. And my goodness, is it beautiful. I've never been there during Christmas time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely gorgeous. If you have a quote unquote resort day, use the resort day to visit resorts at Christmas time. If you have the ability to either drag your kids around, or if it's you and older kids, and just walk, it is beautiful. We got some great shots. We walked around the lobby, and the breakfast was ready. So we had a 10:10 BOMA reservation. Now, everybody hypes up BOMA breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. I've heard it on podcasts. I've heard it on Discord. I've heard it on message boards. To me personally, it was nothing to write home about.
Interesting.
The food was great, right? I mean, you had bacon and you had different kind of flavored eggs with a little bit of spice to it. You had a bunch of other these like little pancake things that were kind of African flavor type of stuff, but it was for the most part typical breakfast fare, right? So it wasn't. I was expecting like a Tusker House version of breakfast, and it was just basically maybe a slightly spicier version of like eggs and bacon and pancakes and waffles, that sort of thing. The buffet was absolutely delicious, though. But I don't know if I would ever go out of my way to go to Boma again and spend that money on a big breakfast when was it 4.5 days in, and I'm like been eating and I'm tired, and
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe just not doing anything for 4 or 5 hours would have been better in that case. So for those that out there that are at Animal Kingdom Lodge, definitely do Boma. If I mean, I kind of this is people are going to murder me for this, but I think I put it on par with just like Chef Mickey breakfast because it had some of the same stuff. Like the eggs are taste better at Animal Kingdom Lodge. There are sliced meats that are slightly better, that type of thing. But if you're looking for just like eggs and bacon, like a good hearty like American style breakfast, you're going to get the same stuff everywhere else. So there was nothing that elevated it to my opinion.
I don't know.
I guess,
And maybe my view is tainted a little bit because it was when my wife and I did our no kids trip, and we were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, so it kind of made sense to stay there to eat there. But we found it was just elevated versus like a Chef Mickey's. We thought there were enough other options, and you get the pog juice and I don't know. Maybe I'm also swayed by Disney prices. It was relatively affordable versus like a Chef Mickey or something. So I think it's just a good breakfast with lots of options, like definitely fill up, and it's not going to break the bank. And you got to visit Animal Kingdom Lodge, which is beautiful and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what sways it. But I'm also not going to say it's like life changing or anything like that.
No, maybe. I mean, I was expecting kind of a more of a Sanaa experience, right?
Yeah.
You're watching the animals; they're coming up to the glass. The food there is absolutely delicious. So I was expecting like a different type of food at Boma like I knew we were getting eggs and bacon, basically,
Yeah.
but I thought there would be other options that you can kind of like splash in there. And to me personally, there weren't enough. But again, price is very reasonable for Disney prices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to Chef Mickey's for breakfast and spending $300, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's half the cost of that for the most part. It's just, to me, waking up, we got on. Wait, remember we were talking about how do I get to Animal Kingdom? We drove, right? And we were like, okay, we're just going to drive. We're just going to get there. And I actually enjoyed the driving onto property. That was kind of a nice little experience. I pretended I was going to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge my arrival day, right? So yeah, the experience was great. I enjoyed doing it. I do not regret doing it. Will I book it again from somewhere else? Probably not. Would I book it again if I was staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge? Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense, right?
No, it does. It's fair enough.
So we were there for about a little over an hour. We had our breakfast and we went back, and then we were planning on going Disney Springs sometime after 4:00. We have a reservation at the T-Rex restaurant, and we kind of want to do the Christmas tree stroll and just kind of chill at Disney Springs. Now, I have to tell a story that I did not include last week, and I was saving it for this day. One of the reasons why one of the things that we wanted to do at Disney Springs was find me a Spirit jersey. So,
okay.
Last year, the last day we were there was an Epcot day, and it got cold, right? So this is the one day at last year in 2022 where my kids and my wife needed sweatshirts. I was fine in a t-shirt and shorts, but everybody needed sweatshirts. So my wife just went and bought four sweatshirts for everybody, and it ran us like $200 something for sweatshirts, right? So I'm like, oh, everybody got a sweatshirt, but you didn't want to spend the money at building a lightsaber at Hollywood Studios. Oh, I get it, tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
So this time, my son gets a sweatshirt, whatever. I'm like, what about me? So we were at the whatchamacallit shop at Epcot. Right by Connections Cafe. Why can't I think of it? But
isn't it just Connections store or whatever?
Connections store, yes.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was trying to rhyme it with something. And I found a great T-shirt, black lighting, Disney World, kind of going across the back. My wife's like, "No, I don't like it. It's too baggy on you. Let's see, find you something else." I'm like, okay, it's the first day. I can find something. And we had seen this. I don't know. It's Lion King, Animal Kingdom. Like thing. It's like the Animal Kingdom colors, like the reds, the yellows, the sunset kind of colors. Disney World in the back, and not at Epcot, not at Magic Kingdom. And we were like, okay, we can't find this in my size. Large was the largest size. And I'm a pretty big dude, so I need at least minimum extra large. Couldn't find it. We can find it at Disney Springs. Everything's at Disney Springs, right? So, okay, we're going to go find this tonight. So anyway, we spent like most of the day swimming in the pool, doing laundry, that type of thing, kind of just general relaxation. It was quite good. And I don't think we really ate much for anything for lunch. We just kind of had some snacks and kind of whatever type of thing.
Yeah.
We got some like French fries and stuff like that. Then, we just about 10 to 4, we left for Disney Springs. We started the day at like the Lego store. I made sure I went to Docksides for a margarita. And this is kind of our headspace right now. I was at Docksides. I had the margarita. I had my 2 kids vibing with a cool dude playing the guitar and singing and stuff like that. My wife went to go to the, was it, I'm going to mispronounce it, Garibaldi's chocolate or?
Oh, Ghirardelli's.
Ghirardelli's.
Ghirardelli's, yeah.
Ghirardelli's, and she loves chocolate, so she went there to get that. And I'm like, okay, come sit down and listen to the music and just let's relax and vacation in the vacation, right? I got a nice drink, let's relax. No, we gotta go. I don't know where we're going, but we have to go. So we ended up just doing the Christmas tree stroll, right? We just walked all up and down all of Disney Springs. We weren't really going to any shops. We're just finding that I did get I would highly recommend. There is like a walk up bar where they made multiple flavors of moonshine, right? Oh. I don't remember where it was. It was towards the other end of Disney Springs, near like right before. Now I can't remember the name of the restaurant either. This is a terrible trip report. What was the Japanese restaurant kind of central in Disney Springs? Morimoto's. It's right before that as you're heading from the old Disney Springs entrance. And
was it just at Art Smith's Homecoming? Because I know they do moonshine there.
Probably that sounds right. I don't know. All I just saw was a placard moonshine. I'm like, I'm gonna get something because we're walking.
Okay. Yeah, it probably was there if it was near Morimoto's, and I know they have an outside bar too, and they have different flavors of moonshine, so it's probably there. So
I asked the bartender, I want to try this one. He's like, well, you do this one, but I would recommend we mix these two. I'm like, sold, done. He's like, and he named it something like a Crash Ferrari or something else like that, because it's like whatever it does, it gets you where you need to go fast. I'm like, okay,
all right.
And it definitely did. It definitely put a buzz on as we're walking there. We only need one drink for that night. And we just walked up and up. The tree stroll was really cool. And by the time we kind of did the lap and came back around and finished it, our reservation for T-Rex was ready. I would like to note that the Disney store did not have the sweatshirt that I wanted and the size I wanted. They did not have almost any Spirit jerseys that I was looking for. They had a lot of those 2024 ones that my son bought, but to me, those colors don't. I'm not digging those vibes.
I don't know if that's colors. The early signs. It was just posted like an hour ago that there's a rumor that Disney's phasing out Spirit jerseys because it said due to high production costs that I guess they're just not seeing their trend. So I'm wondering if that's early signs of that.
Could be. And we went to the collections kind of store that they have right nearby, and they didn't have any either. They had a lot of Haunted Mansion stuff and stuff like that, but they didn't have it either. So we go to dinner, and as much as I dislike the memory of T-Rex restaurant, it's a Fridays with a bunch of flashy stuff. The kids absolutely loved it, by the way. And remember, I've got a 10, 8, and 5-year-old, and they all dug it. I had like some triple cheeseburger type of thing. Let me tell you, Phil, it was a good tasting cheeseburger, right? It wasn't like an ultra cooked up hockey puck put on some bread and served to you. It was a good cheeseburger. I mean, it was $15 and you got a bunch of, it was a $15 Fridays variety cheeseburger. But it tasted pretty good. I don't know if it was the smashed Ferrari or whatever it was called talking to me. I don't know if it was just, I was just super hungry, but it tasted good. Everybody enjoyed their meal. Everybody had a good time. The kids absolutely loved the animatronics and stuff like that. If you've never been to the T-Rex restaurant and you have kids that love dinosaurs, definitely go take a look at it in videos. It's something worthwhile. But here's a planning tip. Always bring it back to planning. If you're worried about getting a reservation on the time you want, go online and join the Landry's Club. It's like $25 to join. You get, as soon as you join, or $20 or $25. As soon as you join, you get a gift card for $20. So it's basically a wash. And you get preferred seating if you're a Landry's member. So if you can't get the reservation you want, book it for later or whatever. And you just walk up, says I'm a Landry's member, flash your card, and you get pushed to the head of the line for priority seating in there. So it helps you skip the line if you're worried about getting in there. I did that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and it actually works. That being said, we got done. We looked in a couple more shops for my Spirit jersey. We couldn't find it, and we ended up just like, all right, it's been a long day, and we went back, and we just kind of, at that point, remember the day before I went to Walmart, I had drinks in the refrigerator at the room, so I was able to kind of just relax. The kids started watching cartoons, and we all kind of fell asleep at kind of a reasonable night, 10 o'clock or so. Now, Phil, here's another thing that completely surprised me. And this is kind of more of the duration of the stay. So every day we got back, we put on the TV to kind of get the kids relaxing. They have been drawn, and they've never been drawn to this before, the new Mickey Mouse cartoons, believe it or not.
Okay.
Like, I put them on TV and like, here's the new Mickey Mouse cartoons. Nothing. But for whatever reason, they watched like almost every single episode that was running on like linear TV that they have. And they were just cracking up to the point that they got back and they wanted to watch some more. So I don't know what it is. I thought that was pretty cool. So
I was going to say, I wonder if it's just because they were at Disney. So it's like, oh yeah, now we're into Mickey and like kind of Mickey mode. But if they're still interested in it once you got home, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've shown it to them before and they had no interest, but I guess that was the only cartoon that they had access to at all. So I don't know, maybe. Okay, so at that point, the resort day is done. We had a nice relaxing day. That was, again, our vacation in the vacation. My wife wanted a day with no parks. I don't think I'd do Disney Springs again. And my wife kind of echoed that we don't need Disney Springs with 3 small kids running around. The restaurants are really not beneficial for them. Shopping is kind of cool, but it was super busy. It was Christmas time. People are shopping.
I found that even in our August trip, because we did Disney Springs the day before the party. And same thing. It's not relaxed. Like it's not an off day. Like it's almost, you know what I mean? So
we did a lot of walking. We had fun looking at all the Christmas trees. Like I really enjoyed our time there. But I do Disney Springs. Like the first time I was at Downtown Disney, this is 2015. They were doing all the Springs construction, right? So we were at Portobello's. We had a wonderful dinner. It was just went there for a family dinner. I just remember getting out of the restaurant and there's like just the street atmosphere. Like there was musicians just kind of playing and people gathering around. We had a drink and we're just kind of watching and relaxing. That was a relaxing night. This night was basically like anything. You're walking around a restaurant bar district and a shopping district, and it's not, you don't get that same feel anymore that when I had before. But adult only, absolutely. Trying different drinks and a bunch of different foods and kind of doing that type of thing. 3 kids in tow late at night. No, thank you. So I don't think we'll do that again. And I think Disney Springs is like once every like 2 or 3 years. Whether that's every 2 trips or every 3 trips, whatever, or every other trip. I don't know. But yeah, probably wouldn't do that again. Probably would have just chilled at the resort, maybe some swimming, maybe just kind of, I have no idea what we would do otherwise. Okay, so the next day was our Animal Kingdom day. And I don't remember if I mentioned it at all, but our last day or our Magic Kingdom day, we had bought lightning lanes for Tron, right? We wanted to go for our second time. I was not able to go on because my youngest daughter was not able to go on. This kind of ruined our Magic Kingdom day, put a sour taste in my mouth.
Right.
So she went on earlier in the day, and my daughter's 5. And she's almost exactly 48 inches tall, right? Like she went through all the different checkpoints. She was able to go on. And then that was for our virtual queue. So we had purchased the individual lightning for like 9 o'clock at night. And this is the only thing keeping us in the park. We would have left earlier. And so we went in there and it started off bad. We wanted to get on and get back to the resort. And we showed up about 20 minutes early. We asked the customer, can we get on early? No, you're not allowed to get early. It's only 5 minutes before. And they were hard stuck on that, which was kind of irritating. So we just stood in front of the cast members with 3 kids shivering cold and wouldn't budge. So, all right, you're doing your job. I can't get angry. I was hoping for a little pixie dust there, but it didn't come, which is fine. But I'm not blaming anybody. But again, my youngest daughter went through, there's 3 check marks for height. She passed the first 2, and right at the loading area, 10 feet from the ride, there's the final one, and the cast member wouldn't let her on. And that just irritated the bejesus out of me, because she basically shoved her finger between my kid's head, because her head didn't like boom clonk on the wood. It was right underneath there. And unfortunately she wasn't able to go on. and they asked me if I wanted to do a rider swap. I'm like, I'm not doing a rider swap and letting my 8-year-old and my 5-year-old sit here alone waiting for me and my oldest to get on, or my son. Not going to do that. So we had two individual lightning lanes, unpaid, paid for, and I was not going to go to Main Street and sit online for like 40 minutes to get them refunded, that type of thing, because it was way too late. Everybody just wanted to get back. It was cold, that type of thing. So the next day, told the story on Discord, and our friend Matt said, why don't you use the chat feature on MDE to see if you can get a refund or something else? So I did, and whoever was manning the chat asked her manager or whatever, and got me and my daughter a lightning lane for our next Animal Kingdom trip, an anytime lightning lane, right? So for any ride other than, Flight of Passage. So this is great. We're going to use it for Navi River Journey because that's always long. So we start our flight. So we have that in our back pocket. I am not buying Lightning Lane or Genie Plus for Animal Kingdom. I refuse to do it. Not worth it. And we talked about this on many other days, right? So our plan for the day was basically go to Animal Kingdom, leave somewhere between 2 and 4. If we want to do it, maybe go to Nomad Lounge to end the day, go back to the resort, do night swimming, have some dinner, kind of relax type of thing, right? This is our vacation in the vacation again, right? We wanted a whole night of not rushing out of the parks, but a kind of relaxing night. So we started out slightly late, but we got at the bus stop at 7:26. We got into the entry at quarter to 8, so about 15 minutes after early entry started. And our day, we were just going to basically we're going to do Everest. I'm going to run Everest nonstop until the line's back up, make our way to the safari, make our way to Pandora, maybe hit up Dinosaur, do some stuff, have some meals, whatever it might be, and then get out, right?
Yep.
So I totally did not take the right way to get at Everest. I kind of went through towards Africa, made a right because I really wanted to get that approach where you had that little shrine that Everest Mountain, and the sun was coming up. So I'm like, all right, I'm losing some time. We're already 15 minutes past rope drop. This is the touring plan guy in me, like, but you know what? I need to get this awesome shot, and I got the awesome shot. So I got over to Everest. Everest was down, right, for rope drop, and I was like, we just wasted like a half hour huffing it and puffing all the way up here for nothing. And that was kind of a little frustrating, but it is what it is. Okay, we got to, again, training for any touring plan advocate for like, what do you do on the fly to kind of adjust, right? So I'm like, all right, let's head over to the safari. So we went over the safari about 8:15 and then got off. We had some breakfast. Now, if you remember from my trip report last year, this is at the point where my wife turned hangry, and hopefully she's not listening to this, but she'll admit that she got hungry. So when we went in our adult trip last year, we did our Animal Kingdom, and we had just like simple like sausage, egg and cheese biscuit. She doesn't eat the sausage, so we took that off. It was absolutely buttery biscuit, the eggs, the cheese. It's just like a nice, delicious, hearty breakfast. We're gonna get that. So I remember passing a bollard for it, like saying, this. Couldn't find it. So we ended up going somewhere else. We got this like turkey thing. I'm like, we're going to find this biscuit for you, Cindy. We're going to find it. We ended up finding it. So we're walking back and forth. Now, the reason why I told you about the Tron story before, my wife's like, all you have to do is ask for something and you should probably get it. So we went to the guest relation Blue Umbrella. My wife explained to the lady there that, we had a Tron thing and we didn't get the money for it. The whole story. She explained the whole story in a very well abbreviated way. And she's like, not a problem. So she went into our MDE and gave our whole family an anytime lightning lane to match my daughter and I's one for Navi River Journey. And this is the key. This is this pixie dust that makes the day.
Yeah.
So we had our breakfast. We did a bunch of running around. We, again, tried to shop for the Animal Kingdom Spirit jersey. Nothing bigger than a large, right? We checked like the mannequins. We asked the person in the back. He checked boxes. He said, we're getting a shipment tomorrow. Maybe it didn't be in there tomorrow. That whole type of thing. We had another guy at one of the other shops at the front of the park say, check like Shop Disney and like nothing. There's nothing on property that's an XL or bigger. And it's just like, how is this possible that I can't get this shirt? So this was our last effort, and we couldn't get it at Animal Kingdom. But anyway, we kind of bounced around some shops and kind of took our time with that. So long story short, this is all done by quarter to 10, still in the morning. We got a couple more hours in the park. We did a Moana meet and greet because Moana is one of my youngest daughter's favorite characters. That's actually really cool. I never knew this pavilion was here. So like right before the bridge over to Dinoland USA, you kind of make a right, and there's a little hut down there. I've never been down there before. Cool little meet and greet area. We get on.
There's been different characters over the years. I think some of the Jungle Book characters have met there in the past and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of like that extra spot they have where they stick some people. So it's good to know that that's where Moana is. It's a nice little. It feels a little secluded, like you're not
it's
like right in the middle
secluded.
of everything.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it was nice. Like you're not getting like pushed from like the crowds. Otherwise, you kind of get down there a little bit, and it's just like nice and quiet and peaceful because it's really good greenery around there. That being said, we go on to Dinosaur, and my daughter loses her Magic Band Plus at this point. Just falls off her wrist. We noticed that it was missing when we were getting onto the dinosaur attraction because every time I went on an attraction with her, it's like make sure her lightning bag like tucked into her sweatshirt so it doesn't fall off, and it was missing. We lost it in the queue. So a bunch of different cast members looked and explained that you can scan a QR code, put a lost and found ticket in there, and every day kind of updates you on, we haven't found it yet, we're going to still try. And super credit to Disney. They said, if we find it, we can send it to your resort. We can send it to Downtown Disney. You can pick it up. Or if you leave property, we'll mail it back home to you, which I thought was really awesome.
Yeah.
But they didn't find it. So anyway, 2-year-old Magic Band at this point. We'll end up getting another one next time that we go. Okay, so anyway, we get off Dinosaur. We finally go to Expedition Everest. We grab some snacks, and basically at that point, our day is done. We right before we were headed over towards Moana, we did all of Pandora. I don't know why I don't have that in my notes, but the Navi River journey was like we walked right on there, and it was not wait. We had an individual lightning lane for Flight of Passage. We got up, so we did all of Pandora in just a nice quick little loop. And then we headed over to Dinosaur. We wrapped it up, went over to Everest. And on the way back to Everest, we did, my youngest wanted to do It's Tough to Be a Bug and In the Tree. Kind of like probably the last time we might see that type of thing if that closes down this year. And from there, we got lucky as we were leaving the park. The Merry Menagerie was coming out. So we got some time with the puppets and hang out. And then I think by that time... Well, here's my notes. Oh, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff. So we got Expedition Everest. We did Pandora. We did all of that. I think we were in and out of Pandora in less than an hour, right? Navi River was at 1:30. Flight of Passage off at around 2. We did Setuli Canteen. That still holds up to my memory from 2019. I finally got back there. Absolutely delicious. And then we did Kali. Then we did Tough to Be a Bug. Then we did the Menagerie. And then we were out. So we were back at the resort at 4:00. So we got there 7:45. We did a lot of running around for shopping. We did a lot of breakfast. We did lunch, but we were able to do Everest, Tough to Be a Bug, all of Pandora, Kali River Rapids, Dinosaur, and a meet and greet all in that time while, not really planning for anything. And we did Gorilla Falls, which we haven't done in quite a bit. So we did that as well. We did not do the Maharaj Jungle Trek, or we didn't do the Nemo show or the Lion King show.
Yeah, I was going to say that was kind of the big time elements that you didn't do, is you didn't do either of the shows.
Yeah, we didn't have any interest in the Nemo show. I wanted to do the Lion King show, but at that point, my wife's like, let's just kind of go back to the resort. It's already 4:00. And I was kind of thinking about trying to do Nomad's Lounge, but I think the kids were just like, let's get back to the resort. It's been a long day. And I know Epcot the next day was going to be our last day. I wanted to be fresh. So we went back to the resort, and we did just that. We went back and just sat by the pool. The kids were running around. They were doing there were still people out there doing activities at the resort. They were doing like trivia and like little hunts for little rubber duckies or something else like that. I don't know what they were, but they were running around the park. They were having a great time. I just sat back with a margarita and a beer and chilled and watched the kids. And oh goodness, I don't remember what we did for dinner that night, but I think we just got we got just some quick service stuff from the resort, that type of thing. At that point, I was sick and tired of the resort food that I ate like some chickpea vegetarian thing was actually quite delicious. The kids all had like cheeseburgers or mac and cheese or something else like that in our rooms, and we kind of relaxed. The quick service area was not crowded, but like this eating area is pretty cafeteria-ish kind of not stale or anything else like that, but it's just a cafeteria with tables at the Caribbean Beach Resort. It wasn't like anything where like, this is fun sitting in here or whatever. It's just plain old cafeteria, which is not bad. It's just like, I'd rather go sit in my room and have the TV on and kind of relax rather than sit here.
Yeah.
So that was our day in Animal Kingdom. Again, vacation the vacation. It was, other than a couple bumps here and there, we got everything that we wanted to do out of Animal Kingdom. Again, not a full day park, but a very beautiful park to walk around in. I think I could stay there probably another 2 hours myself, if even just buying a couple beers, sitting in Africa on that bar, just staying there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
To me, that's me living my best life, is sitting in Africa, drinking a couple beers at that bar and not doing anything. But of course, you can't do that with 3 underage children in tow. So another day. So now we're leading into our last day. So if you remember, our first Epcot day was just rides, right? We did Guardians, and I wasn't able to get a virtual queue, so that was a paid-for Guardians. We did Living with the Land at night, Moana at night. We did Discover Celebration. Oof. The central part of the park. Why can't I think of it? The
World Celebration.
Thank you. I don't know why I keep putting Discovery in there. World Celebration. And we did some of the things, but we didn't do, it was all some of the World Showcase stuff, but it was all ride centric, just driving around the park. This day, no Genie Plus. And the only thing I had tying us down was a individual lightning lane for, a virtual queue reservation for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I was able to get that in the morning, nice and easy. So basically this was our time to kind of relax and just go eat some food.
Yeah.
And this was an excellent day at Epcot to kind of be our last day. We woke up late. We left our room, I think, at 11:30. And then basically we needed to finish our Olaf scavenger hunt. So we found Olaf in the UK. We met Alice while we were there. My youngest daughter was really looking forward to meeting Alice at the party, which we didn't get to do because every time we went to go online for Alice at the party, she was getting ready for the big stage show. So she our timing was terrible. We found Olaf in we found Olaf in Morocco, which was kind of hard to find because Olaf was just out in the middle of everybody in the front, where it wasn't like back in the pavilion. We're searching around the back, and it's just sitting in like a planter in the front. Like, walked right past him. A shame that all the Morocco stuff's not open. I really want to get back there and eat at Marrakesh again, but I don't know if that'll ever be open again. But in any case, we went to America, found Olaf there. We got the cookie for the cookie stroll. I got a 3-daughter porter. That was quite tasty. Went to Italy, found Olaf. Went to Germany, found Olaf. And we finally were able to get the cheese fondue that they serve there. Every time I've been to the Germany pavilion, it's been crowded. That's always the longest line for food. This one, not at all. So we were able to get the fondue, the Linzer cookie, and my wife always gets caramel from the chocolate shop that's right there also. So we were able to relax and chill and eat that. Eating that fondue, and when you're sharing it with multiple people, is quite difficult because everybody wants a piece of the bread with the cheese. Yeah. The cheese gets everywhere, and the plastic knives don't do a good job of being able to do it. So ultimately, it's Dad's got to get his cheesy hands in there, start breaking bread apart. So that was quite delicious. So that's been a staple of all these shows. So if you're going down there, make sure you try the cheese fondue at whatchamacallit, at the Germany Pavilion. Then at 1:00, I snagged our boarding group for 104, or boarding group 104, and I think that was for around 4:30 or so. Again, we're making our way around. All we're doing, we're strolling. So now we get to the Chinese pavilion. We find Olaf, and we go see Reflections of China, which we've never seen before. And that's a really fun video. My kids really enjoyed the 360 kind of movie. We had a lot of fun. Obviously, they're like, "Oh, this is a really old thing," and old movie. And I'm like, you know what? Like, this is kind of like nostalgia-esque. Like, this is like looking back at the world before people had cell phones walking.
It was a big deal in when Epcot first opened, when they made those 360 Circle Vision movies.
Yep.
So now everybody can kind of see that through. You have Oculuses and stuff at home.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Back in the 80s, that was like a big deal.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I absolutely loved it. It wasn't busy. It was like us and like 15, 20 other people in this big theater. So anyway, we get out of there. We had to go on the Grand Fiesta Tour, so we hopped in there and did that real quick. And then I don't know what it is. My daughter loves Mexican food. She's like, we have to go and get nachos or whatever. No, she wanted to get a tamale at that she saw on one of the Epcot like festival of the holidays, like food preview type things. I'm like, there's no tamale here, but she wanted to go there. So we had like some burritos and nachos and a bunch of Mexican stuff. And had something to eat there. Sat there for a while, about a half hour, had some lunch. We went and turned in our Olaf and got whatever random plastic nonsense that you get for the $10. I think it's like a cookie cutter.
I think that's what it was. It was two cookie cutters, I think. Yeah.
Yep. That will probably have already been lost and never be used. So we did that. Again, go back to the creation shop and try to find my Spirit jersey. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going back to the one that I wanted originally back on Monday, and it's sold out. There's no sizes left for me in my size. And all the other Spirit jerseys weren't that good. Even the sweatshirts, I would take a sweatshirt, and I wasn't happy with what they had selection-wise. So anyway, Disney lost some money on my end. We went back to World Celebration. We saw Daisy. And again, we just kind of just nailed off some other things because, we just did Nemo, Journey of Water. We did Guardians of the Galaxy. And my daughter at this point, now here's the evolution of my youngest daughter. At 4, nearly 5 last year, terrified of Guardians of the Galaxy, crying, don't want to go on, shaking, peeing her pants, not really peeing her pants, peeing her pants, and like in terror and not liking it, and then liking it a little bit. And then we went on a Monday. I remember saying that she's like, I'm holding up my fingers, just like, Daddy, last year I liked it this much. She's barely holding her 2 fingers. I'm like the pinching motion. I liked it this much. And on Monday, she's like, I like this much. She spread her fingers wide apart. And this time she's pulling me like through the crowd to get on the ride faster. Like, come on, we got to beat all these people. I'm like, your brother and sister are behind us. What are we doing? So she's super psyched to get that. She actually was brave enough to hold up her hands on the ride and start dancing and stuff like that. She loved it. My wife was able to come on, and her ribs were feeling a little bit better, and we had a darn good point. And just for a mention, that was a virtual queue, and even on a busy day at Epcot. We got on at 4:30 and we got off at 5:30. So it's still an hour wait to get all the way through on a virtual queue. So that's still holding up pretty consistent with my experience from last year. We got the same song twice this week on 2 different days. So Disco Inferno, which is one of my favorites. So that was actually really good. And then we're like, okay, it's 5:00 now. Let's start winding our way back because we're going to stay for fireworks. And at this point I realized my wife's like, okay, it's our last day. I'm getting pretty tired, but I want to stay for the fireworks. And I'm like, okay, well, they're at 9:00. They're at 9:30. Okay. That completely caught me off guard because they were at 9:00 on Monday. I guess on Friday they're boosted a little bit later on the weekends. So we had to figure out stuff to do. So we're okay. Now we're going backwards motion. We're starting at Mexico and we're making our way around to Canada because that's where I wanted to watch them. So we ate the Impossible sausage at the one place at the entrance of the World Showcase to the left. If you go towards Mexico, quite delicious, by the way. We finally found the tamale. Hit the tamale cart like past Mexico towards the entrance to World Showcase, where I totally did not think it would be, and that's what it was. So we got that. Now my youngest daughter is not an adventurous eater, and we ended up buying 3 orders of the in Italy, the fried pizza dough, not the sugar and cinnamon ones, but the one with marinara sauce on it.
Okay, yeah.
The kids devoured them, and I didn't get to have any. But my daughter was hungry, so we just sat on the ground, hung out in Italy, and ate a bunch of stuff. I had a glass of wine. It was great. And then again, we had plenty of time. So we went to go see Impressions de France, which was really awesome. And I had also seen that. And my kids also remarked that it was kind of old-fashioned, whatever. I'm like, well, this is how the world looked 40 years ago. So that was really cool. So I ran into the hall and got a baguette and some macaroons that the kids wanted to have again. And I have to say, I think I said this on Discord as I was chomping down on it. The baguette plus butter is probably the best deal you could possibly get anywhere on Walt Disney World property. So pro tip, touring plan hack, whatever you want to call it, the baguette's like less than $4 to buy. It's like almost literally the same price if you went to your local grocery store to buy a French bread, but it's fresh baked and it's delicious and to give you all the butter you want. So if you're hungry and you don't want to spend $15 on a sushi tree or whatever it was, go get a baguette at La Hall. And the lines were like really not bad at all. I was in and out in like 10 minutes. So we went and we started going over to Canada, and we just kind of set up shop. And, you know, I got a beer and some maple popcorn. The kids got some hot chocolate and some cookies. And we just kind of hung out until Illuminous started at 9:30. Now, I already gave you my preview or my review of Illuminous last time, and I'm not going to do that over again. So we watched the show at Italy, and then we watched the show in Canada, almost like directly opposite of each other. Italy is a great place to stand if you can get onto that front bumped out section that's sometimes roped off. That's really good. In Canada, I think I prefer it in Canada if you can get a good spot. Now, there's a couple places where they have benches looking over the lagoon that are really great, but most of them have trees directly in front of your view, so it's tough to kind of see them. So we got a bench that was facing the Canadian pavilion or Canada pavilion, and we kind of just like got on our knees and watched it overhead. But it started getting a little bit crowded. We still had this weird family saying, is anybody sitting here? I'm like, yeah, my wife and daughters are. They're just using the restrooms. So they came back and they started like kind of crowding in on us. And I'm like leaning over. And I'm like, there's a lot of room in this whole park. Like, what are we? I mean, it wasn't like too deep. And it's like, you're the only people close to us. Like, whatever. So that was kind of weird. Wonderful show. Everybody loved it. What was the better viewing angle? I would say Canada is probably the better viewing angle over Italy for multiple purposes. One, I think you're slightly closer to the fireworks, which makes for a better show. I think it's more intense.
That was always the spot, or one of the spots I like to watch Illuminations from. So it's probably similar.
Yep. And then it's a quick jaunt to get out of the International Gateway. You're not struggling through everybody else. So that was really great. And then the third thing I really liked about it was, again, not massive crowds that were around you, but you got to see. I think the backdrop of the World Showcase is a much better view than from Italy, where you don't really see much of the World Showcase, but you see Spaceship Earth. And I don't think Spaceship Earth adds anything to the show. It's nice to have it in the background because it's, I mean, who doesn't want to see Spaceship Earth kind of light up and do some cool things? But the different world show, the different pavilions lighting up with their lights and the spotlights and the fireworks kind of shooting off in different directions from their launch points is a really good view. So I would totally recommend watching either from Canada or Mexico. And as I was going around, people in front of the lagoon at the entrance to World Showcase were kind of filling up too. I think that's a popular spot, but it's a little off kilter, I think, from that viewing point, from that stage, because you got to look over the stage a little bit on there. So I would say like somewhere between Canada and UK is pretty good. And I would imagine like Mexico and Norway might be really cool too. The only difference is Mexico and Norway, you got a long way to leave the park, unless you're coming to the front of the park and kind of just jet out that way. So again, this day at Epcot, the only thing hanging over our head all day was our Guardians of the Galaxy boarding pass.
Yep.
We said we don't care if we go on any rides or not. We just kind of leisurely strolled through the park, going shopping, seeing the movies that we just had. What do you want to do? Let's go see a movie. This is great. Eating the food that we wanted to kind of just have taste for. And the only thing that made me feel antsy all day was that Guardians of the Galaxy time. Like, we have to be here roughly in this time. Not that they hold you to it, but it's something that we need to do, right?
Yeah. Well, with the virtual queue too, you always have to kind of always keep an eye on it, right? Because you don't know exactly what the time is going to be and stuff like that. So,
well, not only that, it's like you can't go before it, but you can basically go anytime after. Yeah. But I don't want to be stuck up there at like 7:00, meaning rushing my way back to find like some food and then like luminous like seating points. So this is going back to some of my hot takes before I kind of do the final overall trip kind of sentiments. So I think Genie Plus is not worth anybody's time unless this is like the first time in a long time and you just want to do ride and you don't care about any vacation type of stuff.
Yeah.
And again, these are all personal things. There's no wrong way to do this, right? But these are my hot takes. I don't think anything that has a schedule or time is beneficial to you if you're doing a full park day, right? Unless it's a schedule to leave the park or go do a thing, right? anytime, especially at busy times of the year when you don't have hoppers and it's your only time in the park and all this other stuff, having Genie Plus leading you by the nose throughout the day really prevents you from enjoying your time, I think. At least as the leader of your group, right? You're the tour guide of your family type of thing. Because last year I was complaining about Genie Plus because it felt like I was managing a project, right? I had to constantly be modifying it, checking the times, that type of thing. Didn't mind it too much this time, even though it was on my phone way too much. But even virtual queue or a dining reservation in a hectic park day really felt like homework. Like, it's now 5 o'clock. I have to go do this now, right? It wasn't like I was good. I was doing something really fun here, but I know I have to stop it early so I can go over here and do this other thing that I'm going to have a lot of fun with. But now it's like interrupting my flow and my vibe. So one of the things I'm probably going to avoid in my next trip is a lot of things with hard times on it, which leads me to my ultimate new park touring strategy, right? No more am I going to have, because this is basically because of hoppers and reservations are going the way of the dinosaur, right? Literally and figuratively, I guess, with that ride. We are going to do what I am calling now in my head bingo style, right? This is not a new style of park touring. This is more of a laissez-faire version of park touring with a little bit of commando style in it. Back in the day, before reservations, before COVID, before everything, people sometimes like to play what they call bus roulette, right? We're going to go to the bus stop. We're getting on the next bus that gets here, and that's what we're going to do today, right? So it's a version of that, but more planned. So the next time we go, I want to get hoppers, and I'm going to get park tickets for the majority of our days there, maybe have one resort day, similar to what we did this time. I want to be able to, the day before, we're going to have, we're going to prep out and have a list of all the things that you could possibly do in Walt Disney World that we want to do. So we're going to list all the things that we want to do at Magic Kingdom. They include attractions, shows, food, desserts, snacks, whatever key points we want. It's not going to be like 50 things long. It's going to be highlights, right? These are the things that we want to do. So 3 kids, they each pick 2 or 3 things, and that's our list. Do it for each park, maybe a Disney Springs thing, whatever else we're doing, resort thing, that type of thing. And we're going to have a list. I don't know if we're going to make a big giant chart and hang it up in the room. I don't know if it's just going to be a thing on my phone. I don't know. I don't know what kind of fun we can have with it. But the first day we're there, we go, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? It's arrival day. What are we going tomorrow? I want to go to Animal Kingdom in the morning, and I want to do these 2 things on our Animal Kingdom list. Okay, and then where are we going to go after? Then we can come back. And then when we come back to the room, we're like, what do we want to do tonight? Let's go over to Hollywood Studios and do these 3 things and get these off our list. So playing basically what our ride list is our bingo list, I guess, or our checklist. Yeah. And every day, the night before, we're going to pick what we're doing in the morning. And our goal is to try to strike all the things off the list. So as we progress through the thing, I'm not planning it. I'm letting the family decide. We're going to go through everything else like this. And hopefully don't waste our money buying hoppers and a bunch of tickets. But maybe it's the last 2 days and we've got 50% of our list left. Looks like we're doing 4 parks in one day, 2 days in a row. I'm go to my wife. It's like, look, it's your fault. You didn't plan properly. We have to do these things. Anyway, kind of make a game out of it. You make the decision where you're going to go the next day, the night before. It's kind of like a nice family moment. You could be at the pool. You could be at dinner. You can kind of be making these type of plans. And then, okay, we're done. We did our 3 things. We're not staying at this park longer, right? We are not going to go one more thing. As a general rule, and just be there the whole day, because that's what we want to avoid. Okay, we're going to Animal Kingdom. I want to do Flight of Passage. I want to do Expedition Everest. We do those 2 things. We go back to the resort. And like, if Dinosaur is like a 5-minute wait, okay, let's go run over to Dinosaur because that's going to take us 20 minutes to do type of thing. That's fine. Then we go back. We have some lunch. What are we doing tonight? We have a family discussion about it. We talk about it and do all those type of things. And again, I think it's just an evolution of how I expect to do Disney, because we do it so much. So everything's not as urgent that we have to do these things. I think that's part of it. But but another part of it is my youngest stamina was like through the roof, right? Second trip, no stroller. Last year we were carrying her towards the end of the night, some of the nights. This time she's sprinting from the Skyliner back to our room at like midnight. Like, woo, I'm at Disney. Woo. Like, quiet, people are sleeping. But like, she's full of energy. She's ready to go. I don't have to lug her around anymore. That's a big thing. 2, I don't want any more Genie Plus things anchoring my time. Will we do virtual queues and sign those things up? Yes, we'll put those in there and use them.
Yeah, if that's the
great. If not,
identified
whatever.
priority for the day, then sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? And I think what it'll be is allow the vacation, even if it's hectic. This is the vacation because we're deciding what to do as a group, and it's not like here's our regimented list of what we have to do today type of thing. And I think it'll alleviate a lot of those different things. Another thing is I've said this before, and I didn't adhere to it. I mentioned it last week. I don't think full days in the parks are a good thing anymore. And I know there's people that swear by the midday nap and we never do that also. Or you're Matt and I never rope drop. I always get to the parks at 11 so we can go strong throughout the day type of thing. I don't think I can ever do a full day in the park anymore with my family. I'm going to put that caveat. I wouldn't mind doing a full day at the park, but half the day at the park is going to be sitting in Africa drinking a couple beers with you as we just kind of, let the day pass us by. I don't want to do it anymore. It's just too much. The kids don't get run down. I mean, no one is getting run down tired unless we do it like 2 days in a row type of thing. But it's just like, it gets to a point where everything's it's just drag. You're not having fun anymore. It's like, what it's the whole GD Plus thing that we talked about. It's like, I spent $150 on my family. I spent $170 for my family of 5 to get Genie Plus. What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? And all of a sudden, you're not enjoying the park anymore. You're just getting value out of Genie Plus. And I think that takes a lot of fun of it. I'm curious to see how Disney changes Genie Plus in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Because I think, what was it? Len Testa talked about, Phil, about that survey about spending. I haven't listened to that particular show yet, but spending money on Genie Plus takes away from other pools.
Yeah, there was a survey that went out, and one of the questions was kind of getting at, what did you spend your money on, whether, at food and stuff like that. But I forget how it was phrased, but it was basically saying like, if you bought Genie Plus, was that like just adding on to your total budget, or did you then take it away from something else? And, my guess is whenever they came up with these surveys, usually they're trying to get data to back up a conclusion they already have.
Yeah.
And it's probably that. It's probably like they're going to come back to go to their bosses and say, look, 80% of the people, like, yeah, it's great we're making all this money on Genie Plus, but 80% of the people are saying, yeah, but we're spending it, less on food or merchandise or whatever. So it's not a net ad.
The only thing that we can really measure for that is like how available a lot of the restaurants are, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to spend $150 on Genie Plus, or do you want to go to Be Our Guest dinner at $60 a head type of thing, right? And table services were, other than like Cinderella's Royal Table and some of the other ones, almost everything had some kind of availability. I mean, it would have been crummy availability either at 4 o'clock for dinner or 3 o'clock for dinner or 9 o'clock for dinner. But in the past, that availability for some of those headline dinners were completely gone. Yeah. Now you always have the option. And I think a lot of it's coming from the thing from dining. And when you mentioned table services potentially upticking because of availability, because the dining plan is getting people back in the restaurants, I'm curious if that becomes a thing because there's a pool of people not going because they're spending on Genie Plus.
Or are they cutting elsewhere, right? Do they not buy
merch,
hoppers or merchandise, or I mean, maybe it's just coincidence, but maybe they're finding people there's a limit to what they'll spend on a spirit jersey. Like I can't buy a $90 sweatshirt and buy Genie Plus or whatever, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see where that's going because I don't want to do Genie Plus anymore, but we'll get off Genie Plus. I'm looking forward to some kind of announcement. Hopefully people are hinting at some kind of announcements coming. Maybe it is a Genie Plus announcement with all the other deals and stuff like that, all the discounts. We'll talk about that next week, how that max planning and actually the dollars and cents of it. Another thought that came through our mind was, part of the whole bingo strategy evolved from not wanting to be in the Magic Kingdom on a non-party day. Because this is the second big trip that we had in a row where we did Magic Kingdom last year twice, this year once on a non-party day. And if I wanted to use expletives on this show, I would use them. But the whole thing was just a mob of people and it was not fun. I never, and I said this today on Discord where Matt's the type of guy like, I need to see Happily Ever After. He's storming the castle, pushing his way through, getting the spot. My wife wants nothing to do with crowds whatsoever. Yeah. It's an anxiety kind of thing. She doesn't like being enclosed. And as much as I would sacrifice my body to see Happily Ever After and push in there, it's still not going to be a pleasant experience, especially for my children.
That's where we're at. We've had some negative experiences when we've been in the hub, and other people are pushing through,
or even on Main Street.
Yeah, or even at the top of Main Street, and we just won't do that again. We'll sacrifice the view or just not see it or whatever. It's just not worth it to us. So in our last trip in August, we didn't have as many party nights as you did. So it was still, some of the, a limited viewing. And so we were on Main Street further down, and we felt like we weren't sardines. And so I think that's kind of our strategy is we're just going to keep going down Main Street until we get to a point where we feel comfortable.
During the Christmas show, the Christmas time last 2 years, there's no spots on Main Street. There's a spot like behind the Christmas tree where you can't see anything type of thing, right? So again, what's influencing me on the bingo strategy, for lack of a better term, is you go to Magic Kingdom on a party day and then you hop somewhere else, right? If you want to be at Magic Kingdom at night, that's you fork over the cash to go to a party so you can see it at night. But again, the whole party thing really, put a bad taste in my mouth because we went twice last year. We went during, I think the Halloween party was just starting also at no, we were right before the Halloween party, excuse me. But like even the Halloween party scenario at the end of August type of thing, I don't want to be where people are focused on going to Magic Kingdom because that was their only night to go, right? So we're changing up when we want to go to the Magic Kingdom. And I think our next time of year that we want to go is May.
Okay.
It's either February or May, and I think we're leaning towards May just because looking at crowd calendars the last couple of years, there's a low point in May because people are not taking their kids out right before the end of school, that type of thing. I guess we have no qualms about taking our kids out of school. My wife's a teacher, so she's a better judge of that than I am if that's really impacting them whatsoever. So we want to go where there's nothing else going on that forces more crowds in a certain direction or else. So the parties have like completely disgusted us from how the crowd control happens around property. So we want to definitely evolve on that. And not deal with parties whatsoever. Even though we love the party, the $800 we spent to bring our family to the party was, I think money well spent. I think it brought us a decent amount of satisfaction, which leads me to like, what's actually important in a day of Disney? Is it fireworks? Fireworks are always like, for me, like a more key thing. My wife can miss the fireworks or see them and it doesn't really faze her in either way. But me, fireworks are like a way to cap your night. I'm a big proponent of fireworks. And so I have to reevaluate the whole Happily Ever After or not going at night. And I might be leaning towards, fireworks not being a must, right? I love Luminous, but I love Luminous because both nights I saw it, I was around 10 other people. Like it's spread out so much that it makes the viewing of that show immensely.
And you don't have to get there. I mean, you guys did get there early because you were hanging out with food and stuff. But it's not like you have to be there an hour early to find a spot.
And the next time we go see Luminous, I don't even care if I'm like the first person leaning over the railing. I mean, you could probably find a spot to do that anywhere you want anyway, but like, it's not a must. Like I could be walking around Epcot when Luminous is going on and enjoy the show as we're moving from country to country, right? Like I don't have to stand still and watch it at this point. Cause I think it's just, you could always see it out of the corner of your eye or turn and watch it and listen to it. And the vantage point doesn't really make a difference unless something's blocking you, of course. Right. So the last hot take I want to throw out there before I kind of do the overall vibe and feeling of the whole trip is, to me, if you remember, all of my planning used to be around dining plan, table service credits, character meals, using that time to kind of sit with the family at the end of the day and have a nice meal or a break in the middle of the day for 2 hours and see some characters, that type of thing. I am completely away from that, mostly because of cost for the most part. And I believe, other than maybe some specific places that are really good food with 3 kids, quick service food has been vastly improved on property over table service. Not only the quality of what you get and the taste of what you get, but the cost, right?
Yeah.
So a quick service meal basically costs anywhere between, I want to say $45 and $60 for my family of 5, depending on how hungry and how many, if we split something, that type of thing. And that's not including any alcoholic beverages
Sure.
or anything else. Like we're all drinking water, no sodas, that type of thing. Versus a table service credit or a table service meal that's most of them are prefix. So they're running you $50, $60 a head. And then you multiply that by 3, especially with my oldest daughter, who's now 10. That's now like our first night there at Sebastian's, you know, it hurt having to pay $50 for her. I mean, granted, she can eat and she likes food. So, I mean, she ate like an adult portion of food. Like she got her money out of it, but I'm like, I don't want to spend that much money on this food. So like Situli's Canteen, Harbor House, Friar Nook for breakfast, Pinocchio Village House for that flatbread pizza, which is not a bad deal. Hollywood
Sleepy
Studios,
Hollow,
like,
even at MK for those chicken waffle sandwiches or stuff like that you can do.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of great options out there. And I think the worst place for quick service food is Hollywood Studios. But ABC Commissary is still pretty solid. Backlot Express, still pretty solid. Yeah. And Epcot, you go during a festival or not, there's still food all over the place. It doesn't make a difference regardless. So I am totally at, you either eat at quick service or table service is completely out. Unless you have like one place you really want to try and that's your one big dinner out type of thing. To me, the only time I'm doing table service, the majority of my time, is if we do the free dining plan, which we'll talk about next week because the free dining is back. That's something we can. I've mathed out as usual. Not a spreadsheet this time. I did it by hand because I was being lazy. But that being said, we had our whole trip, and I'm starting to go back. And like when we got back, it was the Disney Blues, and I felt like this was one of our worst Disney trips that we've taken. And when I say worse, we still had an excellent good time, right? So it's in context, right? Where all of our Disney trips are a 9.0 or better, right? So this is closer to the 9.0 than it is the 10.0 type of thing. So we're in that scale, mind you, when I say this. So the weather really threw us off. You have to be very careful when you come down this time of year to set your expectations properly. You might be going during a cold spell. And even the week and a half after we left, it was very cold. And it's been very rainy down there recently as well. So dress appropriately. And I'm usually the ultra planner, and we did not plan our clothing properly when we went down there. It's one of my regrets. For me, just because I'm not used to it, Florida being cold threw me completely off. Because when you're at Disney, you don't want to think about anything. You just want to have fun and listen to music and eat food and all this other type of stuff and go on rides. But when you're constantly reminded how cold it is, and they see the kids shivering by the end of the night, and the wife's like, I just want to go back. It's cold, whatever. Because maybe she didn't go on a lot of the thrill rides just because of her health. And so she's standing around for an hour waiting for us in the cold, right? It affects everybody's mood. And because of that, everybody was just being annoying with each other in line. You've got a 8-year-old and a 10-year-old child all pestering each other, and it's constantly whatever. And everybody's up at each other's getting on each other's nerves after a long day and the cold and everything else like that. So that kind of really, like, I don't want to say tarnish is no wrong word. It brought down the glow to a minor glow for the trip. And of course, when we left, it just felt like because we were worrying about all these other problems and all this other stuff, it kind of shortened in my brain the length of the trip itself. So when we got done, we drive back. I'm like, man, that didn't feel like a long Disney vacation. It felt like it's, whatever. But now I'm going through all of our videos and everything else, and I'm finding all these little moments that we had really fun with, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's just all in my dumb head, big head, that, whatever, right? But like the weather effects, right? So if you're going during the summer, you're not used to like sweltering heat, that could throw off your trip too. If you're expecting a certain crowd level, do some research. When are you going? The parties are expanding their dates. Like you might be going during a party time at the end of July. Like, be cognizant of that because that's going to affect your trip. There's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about this year as they happen, and we're going to be mentioning how they might affect your trip. Even though this might be your 20th time down, there might be something, if you're not used to going to a certain time of year or anything else like that, that's really going to impact your mentality of your trip as it's happening. And you really need to be aware of that because you could be an ultimate planner but not think about something, and it could have an impact on just your mentality, your mindset, just like the little tidbits of Genie Plus that I was talking about, like having that, like, we got to be on this side of Epcot at 4:00. And if you are the leader, you have to be cognizant of that. You're the project manager, right? You got to, I don't like having that leash around my neck, pulling me towards that attraction, even if I don't want to. And again, I mentioned that before. But I mentioned about that the Disney bubble, I wasn't able to find it right away. By the time we left, I was fully immersed in the Disney bubble. It's still there. I'm not broken in my own brain, that type of thing. So let us know what you think about some of my hot takes, the bingo strategy versus going to individual parks every single day. Is it worth paying an extra $300-$400 for your family to have hopper tickets throughout your stay? Where do you stand on the quick service versus table service debate? Which one's more worth your while? Where are you getting better quality food for your money and your time? And also, what do you think about the anchor around your neck with Genie Plus? Do you like having set times for things and you like looking forward to them? Or is it like a cramp in your style where you have to be somewhere that you didn't want to be at that particular time because you wanted to be doing something else? So let that go on. And if you could find me that Spirit jersey, I will pay, I will buy you a beer. I will give you a gift card to go buy a beer at Epcot or wherever you can find it. If you can find it in an extra large, let me know. I'll be happy to take it off your hands and pay for shipping and make it worth your time to do that. That being said, Phil, we're going back to normal schedule or normal content next week. And it's going to be a big one. We're going to talk discounts. That's some of my favorite things. I love mathing it out. I love going against a good dining plan argument on the forums anytime I see one anywhere, because people are like, it's a trap. I'm like, you've only gone down by yourself. Of course you think it's a trap.
Yeah.
That being said, okay, Phil.
No, I was just I don't want to get into it. I want to save it for next week. I was going to start.
Yeah, we're a little bit over an hour.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be here in another hour after this one. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. There's a lot of cool discounts going on there. I got so teased on the discount that was released today. It was like the thrill ticket package. Like of course there's clickbait titles all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, new Disney ticket discount. I'm like, here we go. Ticket discounts. I might be able to do a short trip sometime next year. No, it's Florida resident only type of thing. I'm like, can you put that in the title next time? Websites, please. Disney did, but the Blog Mickeys of the world and stuff like new ticket discount available now, and you got to click on it. Nope, not eligible. Do we want to cover anything else, Phil? Do we want to make any more mention, or do you want to get out of here?
No, just mention reminder of our social media accounts. We're everywhere: Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, all at the DBC Pod. So let us know what you think about some of Jason's hot takes and kind of maybe different strategy thoughts you have for your next trip. And of course, join the conversation on Discord. We've had besides our trip report over on Matt's podcast, he just did his trip report. So we've had a lot of chatter about how he did certain things and kind of pluses and minuses and stuff like that. So it's always good to have conversations about trips.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to listen to Matt's trip report on Thursday. I've got a long drive that I'll spend about 6 hours in the car, so it's a perfect amount of time to consume both of his episodes up. Everybody, thank you for staying with us and listening to my trip report. It's very very, very mentally healthy to kind of get that all off and kind of relive the trip a couple weeks later. So I appreciate everybody's time and patience listening to it. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you picked up a couple tips here and there. That being said, we'll see you guys next week and enjoy your reservation-free Disney vacation. Catch you next time.
Take care, everyone.